Welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where we want to start one of a crafter role quest, namely the one for the, well, of a craftsman working with wood, fiber and leather. Pameka the Scrivener. A very warm welcome to you, artisan from afar. Desiree, was it? You sent me for epistles by Pameka, and I'm Pameka herself. Charmed though I am by your interest in my job, I would like to confirm one matter. Tell me, can you read? Tural script? I doubt it. Meaning you can read Eorzean script? Then you should have little trouble here. Tural borrows the Eorzean alphabet, and you will find our language shares numerous similarities. We of Tural speak Turali with aplomb. It is a comparatively young language. As our traditional tongues place emphasis on oral storytelling over written word, we have a sizable population of citizens who do not read or write. My services cater primarily to this clientele. I offer a writing hand when occasion demands, mostly for penning letters or official documents. However, I have just recently received a commission for something larger. A book of stories. These are tales which have never before been committed to text. A documentation of oral storytelling. A most riveting prospect, is it not? It is. Alas, I find myself ill-prepared. While I possess paper required for simpler documents, I have no expertise in binding tomes. Yet with the skill of an adept carpenter at hand, I could accept this task with my head held high. What say you, traveler? Will you help me tie these tales together? If you're not, I'll cover you. Much obliged. Then let us report to our client and officially accept his request. His name is Zemoweni and he works at XIV, a restaurant by the beach. I'll need a moment to close up shop, so would you go ahead and wait for me? Carpenter is a bit awkward for this particular quest line. I mean, I can see it with working with a leatherworker or even with a weaver, but a carpenter? Up here or where are you? Up here. Zemoweni. Pameka, welcome. Good afternoon, Zemoweni. I am pleased to say that we are ready to undertake your commission. Desiree here will be binding your books, and my intuition tells me that none would be better suited to the endeavor. That's excellent news, the more the merrier. But where are my manners? My name is Zemoweni. I'm relatively new to Tural, but I've been earning my keep as a waiter here since I arrived. XIV is a haven for travelers from every region. There's one thing I've learned in my short time here, is that everyone's got a story to tell. From myths and legends to folktales and anecdotes, our patrons share their nigh-endless supply of unique and fascinating tales. Inevitably, one regular or another will badger me into retelling an old favorite, so I try to memorize as many stories as are told. But memory has its limits, and I'm afraid the details from so many different narratives might eventually become jumbled or forgotten, which is why I thought to record them in a book for all to enjoy. Of course, my people pass down our traditions via the spoken word, so I neither read nor write. Pameka may be an exception among Tonerata in that respect. Zemoweni will tell his stories and I will transcribe his words. No different from the dictation of a letter, except perhaps a bit longer. I also thought I might study my letters while you're both hard at work. I'd like to be able to read the books we make after all. You should join us during transcription if you like. Hearing each story might serve as inspiration for its binding. They're fascinating stories all. Can't wait to see them as books. When would you like to begin? My schedule is relatively open right now, so I'm available whenever you please. Then I pay your stall a visit once I finish my shift. It shouldn't be too long now. We will have a transcription session here. I have ready plenty of parchment and ink, so you needn't worry about that. However, there are still a few more preparations to be made before Zenovani's arrival, and your own business may call you elsewhere in the meantime. Stop by again when you're ready to begin. Epistles by Pameka, Maki deliveries unlocked. Hanu opportunities. You seem eager to start, and I admit, so am I. According to my research, we require numerous components. Boards, covers, woven cords, the list goes on. Furthermore, a binding can be made of nearly anything. Wood, cloth, leather, the possibilities are endless. I'll leave the particulars to you and your artistic tastes. Once you have enough materials prepared, we will be ready to document the Zemovani's tales. Request accepted. You may now undertake deliveries for epistles by Pameka. By delivering the requested items to Pameka and raising yourself in her esteem, you will be able to bind new stories for Zemovani. And what do we need? Handcrafted cover components. Maki. The old classics. Okay. Then I gather items now. Alright. I gathered stuff. Pameka. Right, we need to craft actually first. So. Yeah, but level 90 stuff should be easy enough. So, now, how was the crafting, Desiree? Quite good, quite good. My word, I knew you were an accomplished carpenter, but your craftsmanship has surpassed every expectation. The finished product will be a sight to behold. First successful delivery. Hello. Now then, whenever you're ready, Zemovani, we may begin. I think I start with a famous tale that has been passed down across generations of Hanu. It's the tale of a benevolent god and of a crop that would enrich their way of life. Long, long ago, the Hanu resided in a land beyond the clouds. Though their heavenly home was frigid, their enemies were few, and they whiled away their days dancing the pale warmth of the sun. But one day, a great storm ravaged these clear blue skies. The wind and rains raged upon those lands so fierce it sent a pair of Hanu tumbling down to the waters below. Yet what should appear but a giant bird, as big as an island? It flew up and caught the Hanu upon its back. The kindly bird sailed upon the winds over the great blue ocean until finally it came to a land kissed by dawn. The land we called Tural. The couple was grateful to stand on solid ground again, but their journey had exhausted them, and their energies were spent. They searched high and low for something to fill their empty bellies. It was there that they found the great bird once again, feasting upon verdant reeds. The Hanu followed suit. One taste of the sweet reeds filled them with vigor, and their feathers began to glisten with every color of a rainbow. It was then that the couple knew this great bird to be the god Kishai. They tended the reeds in its honor. Their brood would grow and prosper, becoming the Hanu we know today. What do you think so far, Desiree? Have you any inspiration for a suitable cover? Splendid. I suspect Zenovini will have a few more Hanu stories to tell before we conclude here. You ought to construct our cover in the meantime. With your painstakingly prepared materials, you produce a cover befitting Zemovini's first batch of tales. You carefully bind Pameka's pages into the fold, and the tome is complete. It's a real book. I may not be able to read it yet, but just looking at it fills me with joy. Books are remarkable things indeed. Stories told in speech alone would disappear with their tellers, but what is written is promised to survive. But that's my own romanticism showing through. More importantly, I greatly enjoy your storytelling, Zemovini. About the Hanu once lived above the clouds. A people called the Vanu, you say? From your description, they do sound like they might share common roots with Tural's Hanu. If you enjoyed those tales, I know plenty more like them. For example, the ones I heard the other day from a Pelo patron were fascinating. There's the people with a talent for words. I'll have to practice ahead of time if I'm to do them any justice. Please do. We'll be happy to hear them whenever you feel ready. And so ends our first job. You are a pleasure to work with, Desiree, and I have a feeling you continue to impress. Pameka is pleased with your efforts. She now considers you a cover collaborator. Okay, what next? This little Pelu. Greetings, Desiree. If you're ready to proceed with our next cover, I have an idea I'd like to share. Zemoveni said he had Pelu tales to tell us next, correct? In which case I thought using materials sourced from the Pelu's ancestral home of Ukropasha might give our cover an authentic touch. The book about any given peoples should look at home amongst them, or so I think. Sounds good. Then it's settled. I'll trust you know what local materials we need. Yeah, wood, cloth and leather from the region. Pelu cover. Okay. Aha! Your elegant use of snow cotton has not gone unnoticed. With it, your cover is bound to radiate Pelu Pelu's spirit. Today I'd like to share a few stories about the Pelu Pelu. These days we know them to be avid travelers and seekers of profit, but this was not always so. Long before this nation was founded, the Pelu Pelu were a reclusive folk who rarely left the solitude of Ukupasha. Now, in one solitary village, there lived a Pelu Pelu named Sibley. The poor lad was sickly and short of stature, even compared to his diminutive fellows. With such a frail constitution, Sibley could neither work in the fields nor tend to the alpacas. But the village loved him even so, and he loved them in turn. They nursed him back to health in his times of need, and offered tasks that would not fatigue him. He only wished he could better serve them. Yet kindness cannot solve all ills. In the year of a cold summer, crops withered upon the mountains of Ukupasha. The Pelu Pelu began to starve. They ate what remained of their food. They ate all their frail livestock. Sibley knew that they had reached their limits and snuck quietly from the village. With one less mouth to feed, the people would have more to eat. Finally, he had found a way to help. His mind made up, the poor Pelu made for the sacred mount, that he might fade from this world in its silence. As he began to climb, a spirit appeared and forbade him to go any further. Sibley begged the spirit to let him pass and spoke about his village. The spirit was moved by the lad's fervent resolve, and bestowed unto him a handful of leaves. "Return to your village," it said. "Your spirit must drink of these leaves." Sibley obeyed and steeped the leaves in hot water. When the people drank, their hunger miraculously faded. No Pelu Pelu succumbed to famine, and they all lived to see the coming year. So it was that the Pelu Pelu first encountered mate tea. Another impeccable book. Thank you, both of you. What a peculiar story. Of course, there's no telling whether that actually happened, but mate tea is rich in nutrients, and I've heard it's effective in relieving hunger as well. To me, the moral seems to lie in the virtue of caring for one another, that even in times of great difficulty, keeping others in your heart can lead to unexpected solutions. Well, I'd better be off. I still have some reading and writing practice to do, but next time I think I'll share some tales from our Moblin customers. See you then. Well, you heard the man. It seems we'll be in for plenty of entertainment yet. Keep your tools sharp. We'll have another project in our hands before we know it. Pameka is delighted with your efforts. She now considers you a beneficial binder. Okay, what next? Old Ton Roads. Ready for more work? I was just thinking about the wonderful job you did with the Pelu Pelu tome. Not only did locally sourced materials enhance the binding's quality from without, it served as an immersive preview to the myths within, and I intend to have us continue this trend. With Moblin Tales next on the agenda, we want to use materials from Kozamauka. Of course, the Hanu also make a home in that region, so they care to differentiate between their cultures. A tradeswoman of your discernment should have little difficulty, I'm sure. Let me know when you have prepared the components. Moblin cover components. However, we need suddenly brush leather that is not in Kozamauka. If we're to craft a suitable Moblin cover, we require materials that capture the spirit of Kozamauka. And that's why we take leather from Yaktel. Quite as you have outdone yourself. King Zengwood is an exquisite choice. I feel more eager than ever to start transcribing. As promised, today I bring a number of tales from the Moblins. This is a unique culture, as varied as it is peculiar. What do you mean? Forgive me for interrupting, Zemoveni, but won't you be seated? Oh, pardon me, I meant to say something earlier, but at the restaurant we usually recite our stories while standing. Is that so? Perfectly fine, of course, just so long as you're comfortable. When I say the word Moblin, what do you paint in your mind's eye? A mask, a pack? Or perhaps most notably, a pot? Once upon a time, a group of Moblins grew tired of wandering the countryside. They wanted a place to call home, and so they settled down in caves deep beneath the earth. They scavenged what they needed and packed their necessities into large clay pots. Their new home was happy and their pots were plentiful. Too plentiful. Soon their caves grew cramped and narrow. They took up their pick and dug deeper, hoping to expand their domain. And expand they did. Theirs would become one of the largest underground cities of its time. Yet their prosperity would be short-lived. The Moblins dug their tunnels so deep and far, they unwittingly breached the gap between land and ocean. The muddy deluge devoured their city. Even their own mask turned against them, filling with water and threatening to suffocate them. In a desperate bid to escape with their lives, the Moblins threw themselves into their pots and pray they might see the coming day. The pots withstood the terrible tides, and once the Moblins clawed their way to solid ground, they swore never again to live beneath it. So it was they built a new village in the jungle, fashioned their houses and workshops after the pots that saved both their lives and prized possessions. As for the city lost beneath the earth, though its location has long been forgotten, they say it slumbers still in some remote corner of Tural, the sunken city of Movol Polos. Movol Polos. Incredible. I feel it fits the image of the story perfectly. I was moved by the Moblins' resilience. As was I. They managed to shape their environment to suit their needs, whereas I still struggled to adapt to life here in Tuliolal. Many old Turali stories tell of how our peoples first came upon their current homes. The Hanu tale I shared previously was much the same. My family loves sharing those sort of tales. What about yours, Pameka? I was born and raised in Tural, so I've never given my ancestry much consideration. I never thought to ask. How many stories have I failed to hear? And about my own ancestors, no less. It seems I have my own digging to do. If there are untold tales out there, then I wish to know about them. And I would love to hear them, or even read them, perhaps. I've grown more confident in my letters these days, so I'm keen to practice with more stories. I hope you find what you're looking for. The steam level increased. Pameka is overjoyed with your efforts. She now considers you a talented tailbinder. A new quest continuing the story of epistles by Pameka is now available. You get new deliveries upon finishing it. Okay, written in stone. After hearing Zemovani's talk of ancestral tales, I can't help but wonder what my own family may have preserved from generations past. I've nearly finished my work for today, so I close up shop and go to speak with my parents. They should be able to point me in the right direction, even if it requires an excursion beyond the city limits. Should it come to that, your company would be much appreciated. I rarely leave the city, you see. Thank you. I plan to meet you at XIV Plaza once my family chat is finished. Apologies for the wait. My parents were happy to share what they knew about my ancestors. They said our family came to Toliola when the city was founded, so around my great-grandfather's time. We originally hailed from Jacques Tural, though beyond that, neither of my parents could say. I wondered if I might find some clues or mementos buried in the family storehouse, and as luck would have it, I chanced upon a mysterious stone tablet inscribed with glyphs. Judging by its age, it may well have belonged to my great-grandfather himself. We know he was employed as a palace attendant, but he never divulged more of his work than that. Do the glyphs resemble those of a Tuliola saga? They do seem to be an example of Yokyu pictorial storytelling, just like the pillars on Moro's measure, although I believe the Tuliola saga was illustrated more to Mamulja tastes. Why don't we pay the Yokyu a visit then? Perhaps someone will be kind enough to translate the tablet for us? Would you accompany me to Warla's Echo, Desiree? Sure. Wonderful, then let's be off. So this is where the Yokui live. Already I see glyphs carved in the same manner as my tablet. I believe we're on the right track. Let's have a look around and see if we can't find someone willing to help. I'll let you take the lead. You have far more practice in communicating with the Yokui than I do, after all. Pameka is now accompanying you. There's a young Yokui.
Your ancestor's tablet? I can only spare a moment, but I'm glad to oblige. Relatively new, dated just 80 years past. The bearer of a stone is a retainer of a dawn servant, may thus be accommodated as a guest. A residential permit would seem. In those days the scars of war were still fresh. One could not travel as freely as today, so the tablet may have been a necessary precaution. All this way for a tablet, how very quaint. Fine, hand it over. From Tural. Yes, well, let's skip the obvious parts. Here we have a creation of a new alphabet by a traveling man. A learner of Turali cultures. Makes little sense to me, but that's what it says.
So was her great-grandfather the man who invented the new Tural written language? I thought that some among the Yaku preferred to use their native tongue, but I was assured that the ones here would be happy to use Turali. Some may even be confident with Turali's script, though I'm sure their glyphic traditions take precedent. They say this is where Valigamanda was sealed. The tales these walls could tell of a sky ruin, but every building has a story to tell if you think about it. Take ancient ruins for example. Scholars have spent centuries piecing together the stories of ancient civilizations from beneath the rubble. Even without the written word, we can still weave a tangible history, though I simply can't imagine a world without writing.
Reading something, of course, but do keep in mind I'm in dire need of a nap. Looks like the original owner of this tablet shared your keen interest in our glyphs. He came here to hold council with our stonemasons. All your Q learned to write, but they are the expert who etch our histories into stone. As far as what our guests learned from the stonemasons, I couldn't say. Too sleepy.
Now to piece together the full story. My great-grandfather received permission to live among the Yokyui in his capacity as a Dawn Servant's retainer. He was traveling the continent of Tural in order to create a new alphabet, and he expressed eager interest in the Yokyui's glyphs. Since the tablet itself is relatively new, perhaps we can still find a stonemason who spoke with my great-grandfather 80 years ago? Shall we go and see? Stonemason.
Why yes, I've served as a stonemason these 80 years. How can I help you? Yes, I remember. Not long after Tuliola's founding, a man bearing this tablet came to stay with us.
So my great-grandfather really did come here to study your Yokyui glyphs, yes? Do you remember why?
He was developing a new alphabet, as I recall. One to describe the Turali we speak today. Back then, Gulu Jaja had only just succeeded in creating a united Tuliolal. Peoples from diverse nations amassed at the capital, and the ensuing linguistic misunderstandings caused no little amount of trouble. As your great-grandfather told it, When the common language of Tural was adopted, he proposed that a new alphabet be created to accompany it, and that the Dawn Servant turned him down in favor of adapting foreign characters. Not only that, but the Dawn Servant then ordered him on a journey of Tural, upon which he was to study the continent's myriad culture. After touring a number of communities, he stopped here to understand our ways. What he wished to learn wasn't simply how to read our glyphs. He asked tirelessly about our intentions when shaping the stone, how we decide our designs, and each step in the process of sculpting. Then, one day, your great-grandfather turned to us and said he finally understood the Dawn Servant's reason for rejecting his proposal. Soon after, he returned to Tural, full of new confidence.
I had no idea my great-grandfather had such direct dealings with Gulul Jaja. But I believe I understand why they both concluded a new alphabet wasn't necessary.
Is that so? Then tell me, child, why do you think that is?
Turali is a language that exists solely for purposes of communication. It has no cultural connection to any one of Tural's peoples. But a new alphabet would have been a communal creation, a new piece of Turali culture that might have had the power to override others. Borrowing the foreign Eorzean alphabet allows Turali to remain a borrowed language, a language of convenience. By refusing to establish Turali as a language created by and for all Turali people, the Dawn Servant sought to protect our cultural diversity. That's why I think he rejected the proposal. After my great-grandfather traveled the land and arrived here to see our glyphs, he must have finally realized the full significance of his alphabet and the beauty we might stand to lose because of it. This tablet must have meant a great deal to him.
It seems you too now carry on your great-grandfather's discovery and his story.
You're right. My great-grandfather's story. A story of my people. I must pen this tale right away, Desiree. Might I ask you to bind it for me? You can count on me.
Your books are far too small and unwieldy for us, but I'm curious to see what you create.
I want this book to represent the significance of my great-grandfather's connection to the Yokiri culture, so binding it with local stone would be preferable.
You'll find plenty of that right here. Take as much as you need.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I never travel without pen and paper, but this time I even brought my portable desk, in case my search for stories prove truthful. If you could prepare the binding while I write, I would be much obliged.
I've seen books in my time, but not any bound in stone. We have plenty here, so help yourself to what you need.
Okay. I want this binding to properly symbolize my great-grandfather's bond with the Yokiri. Take all the time you need and return to me when your work is done. Like right now. A written account of my own forebear's story. A precious book indeed. I also included text about the Yokiri, though using prose to depict your people felt somehow inappropriate. Thus I also include illustrations, clumsy though my hand might be. Pictures of the stone monuments and pillars. Things my great-grandfather must have seen.
I see. In your own way you honor how we Yokiri tell our stories with images. That is a very kind gesture. The written word cannot express all things. This is my great-grandfather's lesson.
You've been most gracious in your help, thank you. I returned to Tural with a lighter, prouder heart.
I didn't anticipate the events of 80 years ago would one day contribute to a renewal of cultural exchange. But this must have been precisely what Guru Jaja envisioned for Tuliyolal's future.
My great-grandfather's stories is now a part of my own. I would say our trip was well worth it. I think I lent Zemoveni the book we made, since he expressed an interest in practicing his skills on new tales. Besides, I think the illustrations might make for an easier reading experience. It was his petition that started this whole project after all. I do hope he enjoys it. And I owe you my deepest thanks, Desiree. Not only were you kind enough to accompany me to Waller's Echo, you gave me perhaps your most stunning cover yet. Now it's back to work for me. Until Zemoveni's next appointment approaches, I wish you pleasant crafting. So, let us continue the quest then. Desiree, just the person I wanted to see. Our journey to Waller's Echo gave us countless insights, don't you think? Into my own family's history, the Dawn Servant's wish for this nation, and the myriad ways by which our diverse people tell their stories. I feel readier than ever to transcribe more tales from Zemoveni. Well, you two look happier than a pair of raw neck in the sun. Has something happened? Zemoveni, impeccable timing. I'm back from my journey of ancestral discovery and bring with me a freshly penned tome of family tales. Might I persuade you to read it? It would be my honor. No better way to put my reading skills to use. I'd also like to make improvements upon my writing, but I suspect it will take some time before I can pen anything like you can. Speaking of, a Mamulja customer came in the other day and entertained us with some wonderful stories. Perhaps we can compile them in a book? Of course, we begin our preparations straight away. To cover our Mamulja tome, we ought to include materials from Yaktel. In the meantime, I'll clean my pens and ready our parchment. And as usual, we craft the stuff. I forgot to actually do this. Deliver. Level 100, carpenter. What detail you've achieved in your craftsmanship. Forgive me for saying so, but your treatment of these Yaktel materials is the most impressive I've seen thus far. Bravo. This tale was told to me by a Mamulja of a Dopro clan. The Dopro have long been known for their skill as mounted warriors. But their mounts are not only meant for warfare. This is an age-old story passed down through generations and generations. There once lived a Dopro youth, bound by the creed of his people, to seek a land blessed by sunlight, For this elusive paradise they searched endlessly. Fought endlessly. Compared to his warrior friends, however, their youth was ill-suited for battle. He and his driver were entrusted not with weapons, but a cart with which to deliver parcels. Would that I could ride a winged mount, the youth thought. Upon it he could breach the thick canopy of a forest and gaze upon the splendor of the sun. Day after day he wandered the forest, hoping to tame a flying beast of his own. Yet his frail physique proved a burden. Again and again he was thrown from the spirited creatures, until his comrades laughed to see his fruitless, dogged attempts. Still, the youth was determined, and after countless failures, he gained mastery over a beast known as Relmuzashal. He became the first of his people to sit astride a winged creature. Right away, the youth went to his aging parents and taught them how he achieved his feat. Then, leaping upon Relmuzashal, he took to the skies. Higher and higher he flew toward the canopy, until finally he disappeared. He never returned home again, but it's said he found the land of sunlight his people searched for. The techniques he left would be learned by all Dobro, and to this day it is not uncommon to see riders upon winged mounts basking in the sunlight upon the winds. What an alluring azure hue, like the depths of a zenode untouched by sunlight. Over the deep blue sky that the Dobro youth yearned for. A complicated and beautiful color. What sort of impression did you get from the story, Desiree? I wonder if he found what he was looking for. Given the volatile setting of wartime, we might have been struck down by an enemy and simply lost among the trees. But that's hardly the ending I'd like to imagine. We may never be able to return to the past and discover the truth for ourselves, but we can carry our feelings about them into a future they help create. Writing a book of tales does just that, I think. It entrusts our hopes and feelings to those who follow after. In other words, if no one carries on those hopes and feelings, they might be lost forever. The stories that I've told and you penned, they are each filled with the history and aspirations of their respective peoples. But my people have not a single written record. Our oral tradition is utterly unknown to those outside our community. Were we to vanish one day, we would leave not a trace of our existence behind. Our stories would... Zemovini. Pardon me, my shift starts soon, so I should be off. Thank you for the lovely book. Pameka is thrilled with your efforts. She now considers you a binding authority. Binding. Pun. A place in the sun. Oh, Desiree, Zemovini seemed troubled after our last session, didn't he? He hasn't said a word about his next commission, and I fear he may have given up on our bookmaking endeavor. At first he seems so excited about sharing the stories he heard at XIV. I wonder how his written citations there differ from our transcription sessions. Care to take a walk with me, Desiree? I think I should like to see Zemovini's performance for myself. Very good. To XIV with us. Pameka, Desiree. You for a drink, perhaps? Well, that does sound splendid. We were actually hoping to hear one of your famous recitations. Then I'm afraid the timing is rather unfortunate. We usually wait until our seats have filled before having a tale. So, not for some time yet. Oh, that's a shame. Then what about your next commission? As soon as we know what sort of tales you plan to tell, Desiree can begin to assemble the necessary materials for your new tome's binding. About that. If you have no further tales you wish to share, far be it for me to insist. Don't worry, I still have plenty to tell. The thing is, when I learned of your discoveries, I decided I wanted our next story to be something from my home. Our tales are completely unknown to outsiders. Should our old traditions ever reach its end, our hopes and history would vanish with it, which is why I would preserve what I can with a written record. It sounds like a wonderful idea, and yet you still seem conflicted. My people neither read nor write. Would creating a written book of their stories truly be understanding and honoring their legacy? When you put it that way, how would we properly convey the stories of a people unassociated with the written word? Let's make a book that can be read without words. A picture book. Of course, written words are only one way to tell a story after all. Illustrations can be just as effective. But we needn't stop there. What if we incorporated other materials into the book as well? Bird feathers and flowers, things that harken to the setting and appeal to all the senses. We'd need to devise a way to preserve the materials we choose, but once we do, our readers will be able to immerse themselves in the story without the reliance on the written word. A book that appeals to all the senses, I think that might work. I happen to have a few things you can use for the cover, and I can fetch more if you give me a moment. Then let us all reconvene back at my stall. Once you have components for our cover, deliver them to me and we'll hear Zemoveni's tale. Our next book will be about my people, so I'd like the cover to incorporate materials from my homeland. If you run out, I have plenty extra. Jacques Tural miscellany, eh? Some stuff from there. Whew. This time we need binding for a tome that will awe its reader's senses. Do you have something ready? I'm speechless this way. We should make our finest cover yet, of that I have no doubt. Now, let's hear Zemoveni's story. We don't get the story this time? Come on, just because he's a hero? What an amazing tome we've made. Careful script and illustration. Pieces of a natural world as I feature in my story. Reading this will be an unforgettable experience for anyone. I can't wait to take this home and show my family. I'm sure they'll be proud to see our stories reflected in such art. should perform it for all to enjoy. Of course, that was my intention from the very start. I feel more confident than ever in my letters, so I plan to read aloud from this gorgeous tome as opposed to reciting a memorization. In fact, I'd say our evening regulars will be flooding into Gibraltar tears soon enough. If you'd like, I can save a table for you. That would be splendid, Zenoveni. We'll be right behind you. I can't wait to see what Gibraltar customers think of Zemoveni's story. Go on ahead, I'll catch up shortly. No proper animation for leaving the store, eh? You're just in time. I've saved some room for you and Pameka over there. Relax and enjoy the show. Can you hear that? People are telling all sorts of tales around us. A haven for storytellers indeed. Many here are regulars, but everyone is welcoming of fresh faces. Just so long as you're hungry for new stories. Hey lad, tell us a story. A new one if you got it. By the way, I've just got a thing for you, and I think you'll all enjoy it. Tonight I would like to share something personal with you all. Some of you may know I've come from a tradition of oral storytelling. My people rely not upon the written word. However, should our voices no longer echo in future generations, I fear our history runs the risk of extinction. Thus did I commission the scrivener, Pameka, and traveling artisan Desiree here with the creation of a book. This is the story of my people. May it warm your heart like the sun upon the plains. 1,000 dawns ago, in the eastern reaches of Tural, our ancestors lived upon a bountiful land. The soil was rich and the wind carried with it seeds that flourished into healthy crops. But one summer, a great serpent of cloud roiled above our lands. Beneath its swollen body fell the rain, so endless that it drowned our crops and threatened to starve our people. "We must call for the sun," someone cried. So our people lifted their prayers to the sky that they might summon the mighty light. But the serpent heard their voices with anger, lashing out with its tail and driving an ever greater deluge down upon them. With our fields turned to rivers, our people departed in search of a sun. Day after day they walked and walked, bearing the hunger and thirst until they could no longer. It was then they came upon a solitary cactus. "Chasers of the sun, take me with you. I too seek brighter lands. For your hunger and thirst I offer my fruit. In return, sow my seeds upon your path and partake of what they yield." Our people sowed the seeds, and from them grew more and more cacti, each bearing fruit that gifted them strength. For 1,000 nights they pressed onward, westward, planting the cacti and partaking of their fruit. Finally, they reached the white land of sunlight. The cacti grew strong and plentiful beneath the golden rays, and spoke to our people once more. "You have our gratitude, children of man. This is the land we long dreamed of. Today we revel in this radiant paradise. Tomorrow we shall give up our voices and live to nourish your progeny forevermore." And so it was that the cacti spoke the tongue of man no more. Yet our people would continue to care for them and honor them as irreplaceable companions. It was there, alongside the bright sun and the thriving cacti, that our people founded a village and lived in peace and comfort for 1,000 tomorrows to come. In our native tongue, Tonawata means sun chaser, but there is no one reason as to why our people are so named. The story you just heard is but one explanation, a tale passed down through generations in my village, but ask another Tonawata and you will hear another story. I'm not here to insist that ours is the definitive tale, but rather to say that in a small corner of this vast continent, there exists a people who believe it to be true. It is my hope that our stories are remembered by many, and our words carried forward into the future. Thank you. What did you think? That's how we usually do our recitations. Whoever has a story to tell stands up there and regales the room. I caught Pameka on her way out. Seems she can't leave her stall unattended for long, but I assume she's waiting for you then. Zemovini's storytelling prowess is awe-inspiring, isn't it? He set the scene without flaw. I truly felt as though I was journeying along with those cacti. Words are so peculiar, aren't they? When spoken from the soul, they can convey meaning that extends far beyond their written worth. My experiences with you and Zemovini have opened my eyes to the true duty of a scrivener. Going forward, I hope to capture what I hear with more sensitivity and deeper understanding. It's not a matter of simply writing down words, it's about preserving the spirit with which they are spoken, just like we did with our books. My abilities have their limits, however, so for the tales I cannot bind alone, I hope I can count on you, Desiree. We'll see. We'll see. If the game allows, I don't mind. Pamela has gained newfound appreciation for her craft and she could not be happier with your efforts. She now considers you a connoisseur of covers. There are doubtless others in Wachimeki would welcome the aid of an able artisan. Speak with other merchants and see how you can help. These are their stories for finishing this world quest. Good. With that, I would end this episode. Until next time, I'm Mace and don't get lost.